So remember in our live stream on our main channel, we talked about we was going to cover the Electoral College in relation to us as Black Americans and how the Electoral College is actually connected to slavery. And that system that's still going on to this day is a rigged system. It's completely rigged. It's unjust. And we've seen that in the last election, when that came to a head, when we saw Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump run for president. Now, according to the rigged system of the Electoral College, Donald Trump won based on the Electoral College. But if you looked at what the people voted for, are we just going on just what the people voted? Hillary Clinton received 1 million votes more than Donald Trump. It lets you know that system is rigged, because if you go with the people actually wanted, Hillary Clinton would have been the president right now. It wouldn't have been this crazy fool that we have in office. Now, was I a big, huge Hillary Clinton supporter? No. Hillary has a horrible history with the Black community, but I have to just be honest and say that Hillary Clinton, compared to Donald Trump, I know good well she wouldn't do the crap that he was doing. We all have to admit that much, whether you like Hillary or not. But imagine if you ran for president and you received 1 million more votes, and this opponent of yours only won through the rigged system of the Electoral College. But let's talk about why it's rigged and why we should be a big proponent of ending the Electoral College, because it's rigged. So the Electoral College is connected to slavery. So let's say, according to experts and historians, via the Constitutional Convention compromise that allowed each slave to be counted as 3/5 of a person. See, it was due to this Constitutional Convention with the Electoral College, this where the 3/5 of a human being comes from. Okay. And we're going to get to why that is. For the purposes of allotting membership to the U.S. House of Representatives, which in turn largely determine the number of electoral votes each state had. So they say the legacy is reflected in modern times, according to experts. It says part of debate on Proposition 113, which asked, this coming out of Colorado, whether it should join a movement of states in electing the president by the national popular vote, circumventing the traditional Electoral College system, and says it's not relevant to the times, because it's really not. Okay, it's not at all. These people at the time period were saying, okay, because the South had slaves, if they counted us as one, a person instead of 3/5 of a person, then the South would have dominated everything at their national level. So they had to reduce the South's power by considering us 3/5 of a human being, which give other states the opportunity to have a say-so in national elections. But we know the say-so came because they didn't view us completely as a human being anyway. So for us to have an electoral system in 2020, it's rigged. It's complete rigging, right? So the Electoral College, which the delegates approved in 1787 and enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, gave each state a number of electors equal to the number of total members of Congress it has. They say for southern states, they said that meant counting the representatives whose allotment was determined by the racist 3/5 compromise. Okay. They say, but the fact that the system is tied to slavery, advocates, say that today they don't really see it as structurally racist, but it is still racist due to its origin, right? Because the Electoral College today, people don't view it as a racist institution now. At one point in time, I didn't view it as that because I didn't know fully how I knew they formed the Electoral College, but I didn't know exactly the counting of it as I do now, right? Now, they said the fact that slavery and racism played a role in creating the system in 1787. Now, because of the Electoral College, and we talked about that, the Constitution gives every state 2 senators. Rural states, which tends to be more Mzungu, wind up with greater representation in the Electoral College relative to the size of their population. Let's say, for instance, Wyoming, they say where 580,000 people live, gets 2 senators. So does California, home to 39.5 million people, according to a recent analysis from 538. Okay. It says shows this effect gives rural states an advantage in the Electoral College. That doesn't even make sense. You have a state that don't even have 1 million people in it, have the same amount of senators as a state that have close to 40 million people. That doesn't make sense whatsoever. If anything, they should have one senator, not two. But you have a small amount of people controlling a whole lot, which they should not. So the power of the voting, let's say within your state, like let's say a lot of southern states, let's say today, right? We would get more senators, more Congress people if things were voted on the way it should be voted on today. That's why I say the electoral college system is rigged, because it was originally rigged to benefit the Mzungus in the rural areas, okay? Because the South, let's revisit this, the South had the black people there, okay? Because of slavery, etc. And we know 1787, we were still enslaved here in the South, for sure. So let's talk about 2020. There is a movement to abolish the electoral college, but it would have to go through a constitutional amendment as well, because and then to change something about the Constitution is a big thing, because you have to have the majority of the states sign on to that constitutional amendment change about the electoral college. And I believe that as time go along, and as the baby boomer generation, constantly, get out the way, because that's really what a lot of this is, the baby boomer generation. When you start looking at Gen Xers, millennials, etc., they don't really want the electoral college, because we know it's all rigged. It's a rigged system. And the 2016 election actually proves how rigged it is, because once again, if you were running for president and you got 1 million more votes than your opponent, wouldn't you be pissed? I would. I'd be highly pissed that I got 1 million more votes than my opponent and I still lost. That means you're not really playing or reaching out to people. You're playing the system. You're playing the electoral college system. So you're only going to go talk to people that can benefit you through the electoral college system, so it can get you to 270 votes. You know what I'm saying? Versus with the national vote, where you would have to go to everywhere that you could get the votes. And not to say you wouldn't travel to every country, because every vote would count, right? But that system for us as black people has proven once again how we have been, of course, marginalized. And that's been the standard operating procedure of America, marginalization of black people. And what we need to do as black folks is just, if you care about this system, and some of you do, I would be a part of the crowd that says in that rigged electoral college system. Remember, you got to delegitimize the systems they created. So if they created the electoral college system, then it needs to be delegitimized and constantly say how it's rigged. Because even people that's part of the electoral college, you don't even know who they are. Their people are in secret. You don't know who they are. Who are the electoral college people? Who are they? How were they chosen? Why are they chosen? Can I talk to these people? You know what I'm saying? It's too much secrecy around that. And for that alone, that's rigged. These grand juries that operate in secret, that's rigged. We got to start calling the system out as being rigged in a sabotage system against us. And for sure in the presidential election, that's a rigged election. Now, your local elections, your state elections, for House of Representatives, Senate, anything that's considered a popular vote, okay, I can respect that. But anything electoral college, I don't respect it. To me, it's just completely rigged. And once again, the 2016 election proves that. But leave me a comment, let me know what you think about the situation with the electoral college and how, electoral college wouldn't even really exist without being discriminatory and evil to black people. Remember, the electoral college considered us 3/5 of a human being. It wasn't a slave master that said it. It was the forming of the electoral college that lessened you 3/5 of a human being. And yet that system is still in operation to this day.